The smile in the mirror. The bathroom was silent except for the slow drip from the faucet. Laura leaned closer to the mirror, her breath fogging the glass. Her reflection did the same, until it didn't. For half a second, she thought the light flickered, but then she noticed it. Her reflection was still smiling. She wasn't. Her face froze. The air thickened around her, and every instinct told her to look away. But she couldn't. The reflection tilted its head just slightly, like it was studying her. The corners of its mouth lifted higher, stretching too far, the teeth too white, too many. Laura stumbled backward, her elbow knocking over a bottle that rolled across the sink. The sound echoed like a scream inside the small tiled room. The reflection didn't move. It just smiled wider. Then, slowly, it raised one hand. Her real hand stayed at her side. That's when Laura realized she wasn't looking at her reflection anymore. She was looking at something behind the glass. 3 hours earlier, everything had been ordinary. Laura had just moved into the new house on Sycamore Drive, a quiet suburban street outside of Denver, the kind of place with perfect lawns, smiling neighbors, and mailboxes shaped like little white cottages. It was the kind of house people dreamed of owning, except for one thing. The previous owner had left in a hurry. The realtor said she moved for work, but the neighbors whispered a different story. They said she'd started talking to herself in mirrors. Laura laughed it off. She was a practical person. A nurse, logical, busy. She didn't believe in ghost stories. But she did notice strange little things, like how the bathroom mirror always had a faint handprint, no matter how many times she cleaned it, or how she sometimes caught a faint breathing sound that didn't belong to her when she brushed her teeth. That night, she came home late from her shift, exhausted, still in scrubs. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your skin. She flipped on the bathroom light and saw her own tired face staring back, eyes sunken, hair tied up, mouth still behind her surgical mask. But when she pulled the mask off, her reflection didn't move fast enough. It lagged, just a blink too long. Her pulse jumped. "Weird," she whispered, trying to laugh it off. But then the light flickered again. She leaned forward, squinting. The reflection blinked once, out of sync. She stepped back. It stepped closer. Her body froze. Every hair on her neck stood up. She stared into her own eyes, but the thing in the mirror stared back with something darker, something alive. She whispered, "What are you?" The reflection's head tilted slightly, then its lips parted, and for the first time, she saw it smile. The smile grew until it didn't look human anymore, and when she turned to run, she swore she heard a faint voice echo through the tiles. "You look better when you smile." Laura slammed the bathroom door shut and pressed her back against it, heart pounding so hard she could taste metal. Silence. She dared to peek at the mirror again through the crack of the door. Her reflection was gone. The mirror was empty. And then, from deep inside the glass, came a knock. Once, twice, then again, perfectly in rhythm with her heartbeat. She gasped and backed away, gripping her phone with trembling hands. She opened the camera and aimed it toward the mirror to record it. But what she saw on the screen made her drop the phone completely. Because on her phone's display, the reflection was still there, smiling. And this time, it raised its finger slowly to the glass, tracing words backward. "Hello, Laura," the woman in the glass. Laura didn't sleep that night. Every sound made her flinch. The fridge hum, the wind, her own heartbeat. She'd left the bathroom light on, the door still shut, afraid that if she turned it off, the mirror might start reflecting again. By morning, the glass looked normal. But normal had stopped meaning anything. She wrapped the mirror with a towel, telling herself it was ridiculous. She had to work a double shift, and the last thing she needed was to lose it over a trick of the light. Still, as she passed it, she swore she heard the faintest scrape, like fingernails dragging behind the glass. At the hospital, Laura tried to act like everything was fine, but her coworkers noticed. She kept glancing at shiny surfaces, IV monitors, polished bed frames, stainless steel trays, avoiding them whenever she could. That afternoon, when she went to the supply room, something caught her eye in the metal cabinet door. Her reflection. It was smiling. She wasn't. She froze, staring. The reflection didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then, very slowly, its lips moved. "You left me there." Laura stumbled backward, knocking over a box of gloves. When she looked again, the reflection was gone. Her heart hammered as she pressed a hand to her chest. Nobody else had seen it. nobody ever did. That evening, she returned home determined to prove it was all in her head. She set her phone on the counter, hit record, and pulled the towel off the mirror. Nothing. Just her reflection, pale, tired, terrified. "See?" she whispered, forcing a shaky smile. "It's just—" Then the reflection blinked, a heartbeat late. Laura froze. The air felt heavy again, pressing on her chest. Her reflection began to move differently. Its smile widened. "Don't," she whispered. The reflection tilted its head. "You left me there," it mouthed again. Laura stumbled backward, shaking her head. No, I didn't." The mirror's surface began to ripple, like water disturbed by wind. The reflection's eyes darkened, turning glassy and hollow. Then the smile vanished. In a voice so faint it barely existed, it whispered, "It's your turn." The lights flickered. The phone dropped from the counter, the screen still recording. When the power returned, the mirror was fogged again, but now there were 2 handprints on the inside. Later that night, Laura sat on her bed watching the recording. Her hands shook so badly she could hardly keep the phone steady. The footage showed her standing in front of the mirror, whispering, frightened, just like she remembered. But then, it showed something else. A second figure, faint and translucent, stepping up behind her, inside the reflection. It looked exactly like her, but its mouth was moving, speaking words she never said. She paused the video, her pulse racing. She could just make out the reflection's lips forming one phrase. "She's still in here." Laura stared at the frozen frame until tears welled up. Then, behind her, inside her bedroom, she heard the faint sound of glass cracking. She turned slowly. Across the room, her closet door had a long mirror attached to it. A thin crack now ran straight down the center. She stepped closer, trembling. Her reflection looked normal, scared, but normal. She reached out a hand toward the crack. On the other side, her reflection's hand moved too, but halfway there, it stopped. The reflection was still reaching, even after Laura froze. It pressed its palm against the glass. Then, ever so slightly, it pushed. The mirror bulged outward, like something was trying to come through. Laura screamed and stumbled backward, grabbing the blanket from her bed and throwing it over the mirror. The bulging stopped, but behind the fabric, she could still see faint movement. Something was breathing under her there. She didn't sleep that night either. Instead, she sat in the corner of her room, clutching her phone, watching the covered mirror as it shuddered now and then, almost like it was breathing in, sink with her. And just before dawn, she heard the faintest whisper from beneath the blanket, "Don't hide from yourself," the mirror's memory. The next morning, Laura couldn't stop shaking. She hadn't slept. The blanket over her closet mirror was still trembling in slow, shallow breaths, like something asleep beneath it. She grabbed her phone and called the realtor. "Hi, this is Laura King. I moved into 213 Sycamore." "Oh," the woman interrupted, her tone stiff. "Yes, that house." Laura frowned. "You said the last owner moved for work, right?" A pause. Then, "That's what her husband told us." "What happened to her?" Another pause, longer this time. Finally, the realtor whispered, "She went missing. They never found her." Laura's grip tightened on the phone. "Do you have her name?" "Yes, her name was—" The call cut out. Static hissed through the speaker. Then, faintly, through the distortion, a voice echoed, "You already know my name." The line went dead. By afternoon, Laura had driven to the public library. The old building smelled of dust and ink, its quiet halls a relief from the growing tension inside her house. She searched the archives for the address, 213 Sycamore Drive. The first article made her stomach drop. Local woman disappears after claiming reflection was alive. The date was just 6 months before Laura moved in. The woman's name was Evelyn Marsh, a nurse, mid-30s, living alone. Same job, same age, same mirror in the listing photo behind her. Laura leaned closer to the computer screen, her heart pounding. The article mentioned that police found no forced entry, but there was a faint handprint visible from the inside of the mirror. The photo was grainy, but the face of the missing woman looked familiar, too familiar. Laura blinked and realized why. The woman in the photo looked almost exactly like her. That night, Laura returned home, again. The blanket was still over the mirror, but now it hung flat. No movement, no breathing. She turned on every light in the house, then sat on the bed with her laptop, scrolling deeper through old police files and missing person reports. There were others, all from different decades, all from different families, but the same address, the same house. Each one described a mirror, and each one ended the same way. Subject last, seen speaking to her own reflection. Laura shut the laptop. Her throat was dry, her eyes wide. Then she heard it again, the faint knock from behind the blanket. Once, twice. "Stop it," she whispered. The third knock came louder. Then a voice, muffled, trembling, said, "Laura, let me out." Her blood ran cold. That voice sounded like her own. She inched closer, every step slower than the last. "Who are you?" The voice came again, quieter now. "You left me here." Laura's hand shook as she reached for the edge of the blanket. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She pulled the cover down just enough to see a sliver of glass. Her reflection was there, pale, wide-eyed, whispering the same words through the fog. "You left me here." Laura's throat tightened. "I didn't. The reflection pressed a hand against the glass. Its fingers looked thinner now, sharper. The skin cracked like porcelain. "You moved on," it whispered. "You forgot." "What are you talking about?" Laura cried. The reflection's smile returned, slow, unnatural. "You should have stayed with me." Then, before Laura could move, the mirror shattered inward, not outward. The shards didn't fall. They sank into the wall, like being pulled from the inside. Behind the glass, a shape stirred. A silhouette, identical to Laura, stepped forward, smiling with blood running down its cheeks. "It's your turn now." Laura screamed and ran from the room, stumbling through the hallway. Every reflective surface she passed, framed photos, TV screen, kitchen window, flickered with her reflection moving just a little too fast. She fell to her knees, clutching her head, sobbing. Then the lights went out. The house filled with darkness. In the black reflection of the window in front of her, two glowing eyes opened, exactly where her reflections should be, and for the first time, the reflection stepped out of sync completely, slowly raising its hand as if reaching for her through the dark. Laura whispered, "Please, don't." But the reflection smiled and whispered back, perfectly in sync this time, "Don't worry, you'll see everything the way I do soon, the other side." The sun never rose properly that morning. The sky was gray and heavy, the kind of light that makes everything feel like it's holding its breath. Laura hadn't left her bedroom all night. She sat against the wall, staring at the mirror draped with a blanket, the same one that had trembled, whispered, and then gone still. Now it was perfectly still, too still. Her phone buzzed beside her, a text from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have left me here." She froze. The phone vibrated again, another message. "You can come back now." Her blood turned cold. She stood slowly, eyes locked on the mirror. The blanket covering it began to lift, not fall, lift, as though pulled upward from the inside. Underneath, the glass was black, not reflective, not shining, just black. And then a faint ripple moved across it, like the surface of dark water. A whisper came from the glass. "It's open." Laura stepped closer, trembling. "Who are you?" she whispered. From inside the mirror came a faint, breathy laugh, her own voice. "You already know. I was you, before." The surface shimmered. Her reflection appeared, perfectly mimicking her movements, until it didn't. It smiled. Laura whispered, "Why me?" "Because you looked too long." Then slowly, the reflection placed its palm against the glass. And for the first time, Laura's own hand moved on its own. Her body shook as if pulled by invisible strings. I'm raising, her fingers trembling toward the mirror. "No," she gasped. "Stop!" But her hand touched the surface, and the glass felt warm. The reflection's eyes widened. "Welcome back." The world around her folded. The air stretched. The floor seemed to pull upward. The sound of breaking glass filled her ears. She tried to pull back, but the mirror swallowed her arm, then her shoulder, then her scream, and then silence. When Laura opened her eyes, she was standing in the same bedroom, but everything looked wrong. The light was inverted, pale and humming. The air felt thick, and every sound echoed like she was underwater. She turned toward the mirror and saw herself. Her reflection, now on the outside, standing in her real room. It tilted its head, smiling softly. Laura pounded on the glass. "Let me out!" but the reflection only whispered, "You'll get used to it." I did. Then it turned away, walked out of the room, out of sight, leaving Laura trapped in the silent, colorless space behind the glass. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time didn't move the same way anymore. The mirror didn't show the house anymore, only shadows, whispering faces, and flashes of people who had lived here before her. Evelyn Marsh was among them, standing just a few feet away, smiling faintly. "It doesn't hurt after a while," Evelyn said softly. "You just fade." Laura tried to speak, but no sound came. Her breath fogged the inside of the mirror, and when she wiped it away, her reflection wasn't there anymore. No one was, just the faint outline of a new face forming, a face she didn't recognize. 3 weeks later, the house at 213 Sycamore Drive went up for sale again. The listing photos showed a bright, cozy home with white walls and clean mirrors. The realtor described it as freshly renovated, though she didn't mention the missing tenant. On the morning of the first showing, a young woman walked in to tour the house. She smiled politely, stepping into the bedroom. The mirror on the wall gleamed spotless. She leaned in for a moment to fix her hair, and for a split second, her reflection smiled first,